Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Jake Show.
What's going on, everybody? We are doing something completely different on the show today. We're actually doing two things different that we haven't done before. We are bringing on a guest star. In addition to bringing on a guest star, we're going to be diving into the paranormal, something really, really scary. Today with Corbin and I, we got our good friend Michele. One interesting thing about Michele is she is a former literal ghost hunter. Michele, correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to be on a small time TV series. Is that correct, or something close to that?
Yes, you could say that. Something close to it. We had a couple of pilots and a few more after that, some neat little documentaries and such. Yeah, definitely you could say it.
Where did that all start? Did you start within like a company, or did you start doing it yourself, kind of indie style, and then it got picked up?
Yes and yes. So it all started from our daughter has a little friend, and her parents were like, "Hey, what do y'all want to do for date night? We should do something together. Do y'all like ghost hunting?" And we're like, hadn't thought about it, but yeah, sounds fun. And then we just ended up buying up all the equipment and new little devices every week. Next thing you know, someone is wanting to film us and put it on PBS, and they did, and that's it. And it still sometimes shows right before or after the Antique Roadshow.
What was that show called?
It was called Bell County Paranormal.
We're gonna get to the real neat and cool stuff here in a second, but me being a finance dude, I just got to know, well, what is the general equipment you buy when you're preparing to go ghost hunting, and how much that stuff costs? Is it super expensive?
Whew. So yeah, it definitely can be, but if you are thrifty enough, you can buy pieces and build your own. We're talking high-end camera with night vision, super good audio and video, of course. And then the devices that you communicate with the ghost. You can't see my air quotes. So yeah, it can get kind of costly, especially for a hobby, but boy, it was so much fun.
And when did you start this? Did you start I know you said Bell County. Is that Central Texas? Is that where it is?
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So what year was that, or when would you?
Let's see. So that was probably around 2010. Yeah, probably
Gotcha.
2010. Somewhere right in there, yeah.
And when you first started, was it more, do you think I'm gonna go to cemeteries, try to figure this out there, or was it more like, oh, there's a haunted, mansion or hotel or house that we know that people, folklore, and I need to go there first? What was your kind of first stop?
So we kind of did a little bit of all of those things. We wanted to test out our equipment because we needed to get used to it, right? Mm-hmm. So we did. We went out to a cemetery and we used a voice recorder and caught these really weird things that we were just like, whoa, this is real. This can't be happening. So, it was like an oh my goodness moment. Then we started incorporating video into it. And then we were able to see that the voices on the voice recording and on the video orbs were lining up. And it's like, okay, maybe there is something to this. So that was our practice run. And then suddenly people started hearing about it, and we would get calls from people who say, our house is haunted. Is there any way you could come and check it out for us? We're like, sure, yeah, but you should know we can do this and maybe decide for you whether or not it's haunted, but we can't fix it for you. So, yeah, and that's basically how it happened. And then our love of history kind of took us in yet another turn. And we started going to historical places and documenting what kind of activity they had.
Just out of curiosity, I like how you put the disclaimer out that we don't fix the ghost. We just let you know that it's there. Was that an awkward conversation? You told somebody, yeah, it's haunted. See you later. Good luck. How did that conversation usually go?
A lot of times they just really wanted someone to tell them that they were not crazy, that it was not their imagination. And I have to say, a handful of times it was totally their imagination, or at least at that particular time. Who knows? The ghost could have been hiding from us. I don't know. But there were times where they really just wanted that confirmation that there was something unexplainable going on.
What is like the main sign that screams there is a ghost here? You know, I know you said you have voice recordings. You also have the orbs that show up on the night vision cameras. What would you say is like, okay, this is indefinite. This is there's a ghost here.
So to be perfectly honest, there are ghosts everywhere and we live in their world. So if you believe in that, everywhere we are, there are many, many more spirits just everywhere. So I think whenever someone is thinking that their house is haunted or something like that, they're being affected, it's because whatever that ghost or spirit is has an agenda. Whether it's just to be funny or irritating, or maybe they don't know what to do, so they're lost, because you can kind of read about stuff like that. Sometimes the ghost doesn't know where to go. So there's a lot of little signs, but I don't know that there's a definite sign. Sometimes smells, unexplained smells, like perfume. Okay, nobody wears that perfume. It came out of nowhere. Cigarette smells, cigars. Cigars is a really big one. Shadows out of the corner of your eye. You know, if you've ever been all of a sudden just out of the corner of your eye, you see something move and you're like, what was that? And that is because the shutter speed in our peripheral vision is much quicker than what we're looking straight forward. So you're more likely to catch it that way. A lot of people see those. We see them all the time. It's probably not even that odd. But if you already have suspicion, you have that feel of a certain kind of energy. Some people are more sensitive to it than others. So they feel this weird energy, they smell the smell, and then they catch little shadows out of the sign. You know what? That would make anybody start to question whether there's a ghost or they're just losing their minds.
If you don't mind, I think we'll have plenty more questions, towards the end of this, but I think myself, Corbin, I think a lot of people listening want to get right into some of the spooky stuff that I'm sure you have many stories of. Prior to this, I heard one of the stories that you had mentioned to me, and I thought it was just one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my entire life. So, Michele, I'm going to put you right on the spot here. Can you give us an account of one of the, I don't know if the proper word is to be scary or spooky or just out of the ordinary. What's one of the out of the world experiences that really stuck with you throughout all your years doing the ghost hunting?
Oh boy. Okay. So there's probably two that really stand out. The first one was my best friend lived right next door to this house that used to be an all boys prep school. And that house had been vacant for a really long time. People had moved in and out of it. No one had ever really said it's haunted, but it just looked like a lonely 2-story house that was old. And then you find out the history. Interesting. We were coming home and it was dark, and I just took my iPhone out and I snapped a couple of pictures of the side of the house. This was in the very beginning of Ghost Adventures time. And we went in and I looked at my phone and I was like, oh my goodness, what the hell is that? And nobody lived there. There was no furniture in there. There were no pictures on the walls, but this giant window. In that window was the perfect outline of this beautiful woman who was dressed in, I can only imagine, early 1900s or maybe late 1800s. I mean, that was the feel, but she had her hair up in a bun, loose bun, and she had on the tight corset. Her facial expressions were just like angelic, and her eyes seemed to be looking out like she was looking for someone. Okay, so yeah, I got the goosebumps just so everybody knows.
We can confirm she has the goosebumps.
It was so incredibly real. And I was like looking at it and couldn't even speak the words. And I'm just sitting there slapping my best friend on the arm going, and she's like, why are you been like that? Why are you doing it? And I show her the picture and she's like, oh my God. So we went out and took more pictures. And sure enough, some more pictures of a window further back in the house. I took 2 or 3 in a row and then went back and looked at them because I couldn't look at them outside. It was too spooky. So we had to go back in. And there was like a ladder and a little girl that was sitting on the ladder. And then in the next picture, she's not on the ladder, so it was very intriguing. Like there was nobody in there, no lights, like I said, no photos, there was no art. So this was bizarre.
Where was this house at again?
It is in Belton, and it is basically on the corner of Bell and Knight, and it's called the Wiedemeyer School for Boys.
Is it still standing today?
Oh, yeah.
Time to pay the bills.
Hey guys, quick break from the show. If you don't already know who I am, I'm Jake Martinez. Not only am I the host of The Jake Show, but I'm also a veteran mortgage lender. Now, if you're not really sure what a mortgage lender does, I'm basically the guy who helps you figure out how to actually buy a home or improve the one that you already have. I look at your income, credit, and goals and show you what's realistically possible, whether that's buying, refinancing to lower your monthly payment, or just getting a clear game plan on what you can and are able to do. No pressure, no confusing bank talk. We can even run everything with a soft pull so it doesn't hit or affect your credit. If you got questions or just want to see what your options are, hit me up anytime. Call or text 940-389-5443. I would love to see what options are available to you. Now back to the show.
Licensed Texas mortgage lender. NMLS number 2453141, equal housing lender.
You said there was 2 stories. That's already, creepy enough.
Yeah, that one was the kicker.
What's the next big one that stands out in your memory?
So we had lots of little experiences throughout, but the one that made me question whether or not I wanted to ever do this again. There's a difference in seeing ghosts and seeking them out. So this became that defining moment for me. We had gone to the Bell County Poor Farm, which a lot of counties have them. It was something that way back in the late 1800s, most counties had them. And that's where they would take the people who were sick or poor and, if they couldn't pay their bills or they were a menace to society, if they had some sort of terminal illness, it didn't really matter what it was. They were a problem to society. So this is where they took them. They could work on the farm for, and help and have food. But basically, it was like the community where misfits and others go. Then also on that property, there was a sick house. And that sick house was for all sickness, whether it was mental, physical, whatever kind of sickness. So you had people who were dying of tuberculosis, but then you had people who were suffering tragic mental health, just all kinds of things like that and everything in between. So we were out there and we were on the back of the property where the sick house was. And again, no electricity, the windows are missing. This is a very old structure. And the front door, again, no door on it, but there was a wall. And let's just paint the picture that you walk in the front door and to your left, there's a wall. And behind that wall is a kitchen. And then to the right of you is this open living room. And I was standing at the wall against the kitchen. And another one of our fellow ghost hunters was standing in the front door. And then 2 other girls were standing in the corner furthest from me. Okay, so basically we all had our backs against a wall. It just makes you feel more grounded, okay? Because you just don't know. It could have been a wild raccoon when you're out in the woods like that. And we're standing there having a discussion, and my husband was filming night vision, and all of a sudden, everything went silent for me. And to the left of me, it was like a silent, like I couldn't hear anybody else, but it was like a humming in my ear, and not like a person, but like a buzzing. And I can't even explain that very well, but I couldn't hear anything but that. And they were talking around me, and it was dark all of a sudden, and there was moonlight everywhere. I put my hand up against the side of my face, and I was literally waving it like my hand is in front of my face and I can't see it. And that lasted what felt like an eternity, but it was probably like 10 or 15 seconds in real time. And I was yelling, "Hey guys." And I think I must have been talking really loud because I couldn't hear anybody. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. All of a sudden, it just went away. And I could see all around me and I could hear, but all 3 of the girls were going, "Michele, are you okay? Michele," like trying to get my attention. And then you see in the corner over there where my 2 friends were, they both ducked at the same time and go, "What was that?" So that was the day that scared me a lot, because that was the closest I ever felt to something dark. And I started to question whether all the protection prayers we said beforehand, do we really know if that stuff works? I mean, it's hard to say 100% that any of it is real or not real. So how do you know if a prayer of protection works or doesn't work? Because it's really up in the air. Are you a believer or are you not a believer? So we reviewed that film, and sure enough, there was an orb, ball of light, for those of you who don't know, floating next to me in the film. And then whenever I came back to the rest of the room, you saw it fly across into the corner. And at that very same time, you see my 2 friends in the corner duck and go, "What was that?" Because they saw it, and we captured it on film. That same house in another room, I'm going, "What is this? I feel something. There's something all around me." And on camera, we caught another orb, and it was just circling around my tummy area. It was just like around and around like a little lightning bug that was just really just interested in me. So yeah, that scared me. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that anymore after that night.
So do you feel like the stereotypical, they say it gets cold around you, and I know you said you had complete loss of your left eye and hearing, your sight and hearing. Do you feel the typical like coldness or the brush by your hair, like a sudden drift of wind? Is that something that is around those orbs or around like the ghosts that are in your vicinity?
I have definitely felt the temperature drop. And when that would happen, we would just automatically go, "Hey, somebody else come over here and feel this. Can you tell the difference?" And it was very obvious. There have been many a times when that temperature drops, and it does kind of freak you out a little bit because there's no reason for it. But that's when the skeptic starts working. And I'm one of those people. I believe, but I also am always looking for another reason why it could be like this. And I'll look for drafts and AC vents and all that kind of stuff.
You mentioned that you are a believer and also a skeptic at the same time. Prior to you beginning your career in this, would you have said that you were a believer of the paranormal before this, or was it something that you experienced and kind of had some stuff confirmed, or whatever the case may be?
So I would say from the time I was very young, like a lot of kids, when I guess our brains are pure, we're able to witness or feel or see things that the world roughs us up and takes away as we get older. So I had a lot of little experiences that couldn't really be explained as, oh, that's just real. That's what happens. No, these were things that were not explainable. And so I was definitely a believer. Always, if I went into a different house or with people, I could just like, if I met someone, I would feel like a certain kind of energy. I don't think that is a paranormal gift by any means. I think that just sometimes has to do with different people have different energy and some people are more sensitive to it. So I was able to pick up on shifts in energy in rooms as a young child. So yeah, I definitely believed in it. Dreams were my big thing. People would visit me in my dreams. So I believed, but when we went into this, I wanted to be open-minded and not blinded by the fact that I want there to be ghosts in the world. I wanted to be realistic, and I would always look to see what else could cause this.
From all of your, I guess you could say your trials doing the hunts, you mentioned that on the previous story that was your first time, or at least one of the few times that you really felt darkness. We've used the word ghost quite a few times in your stories and our descriptions. Have you ever felt something that you would have felt was more than ghost, something like demonic, for I guess lack of better terminology for that with that? And is there a difference?
Yes, there is a difference. So I might get a wee bit emotional, so I'm sorry. I'll apologize ahead of time.
You're all good. Stay spot.
I'm okay talking about it. It's just that particular incident that scared me was not a normal ghost. It was dark. And I decided after that I was going to go wait in the car for everybody else to finish up their investigation. Because whatever that was made me decide that this is probably not what I want to be doing. For one, we don't understand it all. And if you don't understand something and there's no way to find out, because nobody can know these things, maybe you should back up a little bit. Don't be the first one to figure it out.
Yeah.
However, from that day for several weeks, I had some situations that were terrifying to me. I would walk out the back door to my shop and there would be a dark figure that out of the corner of my eye would run up the side of a building. Not natural. This is not natural. But I would be driving down the highway and I would, out of the corner of my eye, see a dark shadow with no shadow in between my vehicle and this shadow. So it was very hard to explain. It was right alongside me. And this went on for a while. One of my friends who happens to be, if you believe in this, I take it with a grain of salt, but a medium, so to speak. She has a gift. She definitely has a gift. But she came into my shop one day and said, Michele, can I talk to you for a moment? Like, of course. She said, I don't want to freak you out, but the other day I was in and I looked down there and you were helping a customer and you had a very dark image, shadow next to you. And it was very connected to you. And I'm like, okay, I knew my energy was off because I just had a big argument with my best friend. And I'm like, okay, you're probably just picking up on that, because we have arguments with people and it makes us feel a certain way. You never like it. She said, I don't think this is it. And I'm like, oh, goodness. I can tell you that this and this has been happening. And she said, yeah. Anyway, I won't go into that story, maybe another day, about the idea of where that came from and what it was here to do or accomplish. But anyway, let's just say white sage was a lifesaver and lots of prayers and just cleansing, lots of cleansing. And I finally was free of that.
Time to pay the bills.
This is Corbin McBride with Goosehead Insurance. Just coming to you real quick to try to just offer my services. We do anything property and casualty, so that's going to be home, auto, ATV, boat, anything you really own, even commercial business. Happy to quote you out and see if we can help you save some money. My number is 682-282-5051, and my email is corbin.mcbride@goosehead.com. Thank you.
But it was very eye-opening and it was very scary.
So did you do anything after that? Like as in like go back out to ghost hunting? Or was that kind of the last straw, where it's, you have such a powerful experience there? It's one of those things where you almost don't want to even put yourself in a situation.
I was afraid. I was very afraid. Yeah. I like to think I'm not really afraid of anything. And that's kind of how we all feel. But I was very, very extra cautious. I didn't want to go anywhere where there was the possibility of having something dark and what I could only think maybe is more of like a demonic type situation that I wanted no part of. And I didn't want to be put in a position because, hey, what can I say? Maybe I'm a magnet. They like my energy. They want to, take all my positivity, whatever. Just kidding about that part. But you never know if you're a ray of sunshine, right? So I just tried not to put myself in those positions. And if my friends had a situation and they needed my help, I would do it for them. But all in all, keeping it lighthearted and explaining that if there was anything that gave me an off feeling, we're out of there. Yep. We're not sticking around for that. Nobody has time for that.
I agree. Do you think those are just like you're explaining, some ghosts are just lost, some ghosts are just, they've been there, they're playing around, they like to joke around, and then some ghosts are actually dark. Do you think it's just a dark ghost or it's a completely different entity altogether?
Through my experiences, I feel like there's been a lot of rabbit holes that I've gone down, and the romanticized side of ghosts, that you can read about is that they're lost souls, that they just didn't cross over. So there is that. Will we ever really, truly be able to prove that? No, there's no way to know. And I'm not an expert on that. I'm just someone who has had a little bit of experience with it. But I would say that it makes sense to me that there would be some lost souls. I know that there's a lot of different ways to look at it through religion and all, but let's just say you died and you didn't really know you were dead. That possibility is there. You don't know what to do. Where do you go? I mean, unless there's a bright light shining right in front of you and they're telling you, then you don't know. So that would be my guess. I do think there are other energies that are bad, that are not just lost souls. I believe that there are entities, so to speak, that have been around for hundreds and thousands of years, and they're not good. They're just not good. And I do believe that. But you can read about white shadows, and dark shadows are supposed to be evil, and white shadows are supposed to be not evil. I really don't know if I buy into any of that. I just say be cautious because we don't really and we can't know those answers.
One thing I want to ask Michele is, obviously, I can say for myself, I've always had a taste for the paranormal. Not a gift to see or anything like that, but just interest of it. And I've always believed in that sort of thing. I don't know about you, Corbin, or not, but what would you say to somebody who maybe listening to this and just thinking, this is all a bunch of hogwash, this is all made believe, we paid Michele to come up with some crazy story or something like that. Well, what would you say to someone who is entirely against the idea and the possibility of a paranormal being able to be existing in this world?
I would say you could be right. Unfortunately, you could be wrong. I don't know that I would be able to convince them either way, other than I could show them all the tricks we can do. And there are some of them that you just kind of have to make your mind up yourself. Some of it is just cannot be a coincidence. It's, for instance, there is my favorite, the man light, flashlight, That one has proved to be more effective than any of the more expensive gadgets.
What is that?
So a mag flashlight, they come in different sizes, but generally, they're about this long, and the brand is mag light. And it's the kind of flashlight that you twist the top to turn it on, so no button. And you can literally twist it just enough where it's about to come on, and then turn it back just a bit so that it's not on. And you can set it on the edge of a table or shelf or whatever. And you can ask direct questions, yes or no. Simple yes or no questions. And you can't deny when it's just too perfect. I mean, it's hard to deny. And I've had a lot of those experiences. That's been the best tool ever.
I was wondering, when you go to these ghost hunting, the houses, the cemeteries, whatever it is, are you asking questions the whole time? You're like, if you're out there, please answer, or tap on my shoulder, or anything like that? Or do you always keep it materialistic instead of on your person?
Okay, depends on the vibe.
Yep.
If I feel like there's something dark, and my first words are, do not touch me. You cannot go home with me, that kind of thing. And again, I'm basically just talking into the dark because I don't know if they can understand me or hear me. They may not speak my language, There's so much to consider. But there have been instances where there is an obvious child presence. And we have used toys to kind of communicate. And that has been very interesting. You're on those goosebumps again.
They are there.
Reliving those moments. Nothing creepy, but if you didn't know what was going on, you would definitely be like, oh my, what is that? But you can sense whether they're pure or not. And therefore you can kind of judge it that way. I have had a little girl that somehow communicated, which I'm not really sure. We may have asked the question, and it was a flashlight situation. Would you like a hug? And she indicated she wanted a hug. And being a mama, I'm like, well, come on over. I'll give you a hug. And I literally sat there with my arms like this, making that hug motion long enough, because if she needed a hug, I was okay with that. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at it on camera, it looks ridiculous. And there's nobody there. Yeah. You're just hugging the air. But I thought, okay, I can do that for her. But I technically know if it feels off, never invite them to touch you.
Absolutely.
Michele, we're getting near towards the end of this. I wanted to ask, again, in the rare case for one of our million viewers, maybe listening to this and thinking, there's some weird stuff going on in my house, or whatever the case may be. What would your advice to them be? Again, not knowing if it's demonic or if it's just, some weird noises going on in their place. What would you advise to somebody who thinks some paranormal stuff may be happening around them?
All right. So if you really think that's what's going on, your first step would be to go get some anointing oil. Okay. If it's just mild irritation, anointing oil, you can usually get it at your Whole Foods, or I don't know how many of the stores we have around here, but and it's just, you can look it up on Google, and it's a very simple little thing. And you just use the anointing oil, and you walk around your house and you say, nothing evil is to be in my home. Nothing's allowed. And anyway, again, you can find that anywhere on the internet. You just got to get the right oil. The other thing would be, if you feel like it's evil, don't be ashamed. Call your pastor, ask them to come and bless your home. Because what that does is a couple of things. One, it will just make the whole house feel better. It will release a lot of negativity. If you're not comfortable doing that, go get your white sage. Be very careful and do your homework first, because white sage is good. And don't mess with, other cultures. Like Native Americans are very big on using sage, but don't cross any boundaries. Just do your homework. Get the right sage your home. You might get a headache. I wouldn't have the kids in the house because it does have a very strong smell, a lot like pot. But yeah. Anyway, that will do the same thing. It'll cleanse the area. But if you've got something that is terrifying you, you just need to, and you feel harmed maybe, you just need to get out of there and go find you a priest or someone like that to consult with, because even though they don't talk about it, Catholics still believe in possession and all of those things. And they do know that homes can be possessed, whether it's negative energy or demons or ghosts or whatever. So it's not talked about, but you go and you make that appointment with that Catholic priest and you tell him what's going on, and I bet you they can help you.
Do we need to make an appointment with the Catholic priest after this interview, just to be safe?
I think I'm good. Like, I haven't felt like anybody's holding me down in a long time. Pretty eerie.
Corbin, did you have any other things that you really wanted to bring up or ask?
I'm just very thankful that you came on, and it's been honestly a pleasure speaking to you about this stuff, because as a believer in Christ, I mean, you do believe in angels. There has to be kind of a yin and yang to that. So it's kind of, I've always felt that there was something else, but it's hard to explain, obviously, to anyone that doesn't believe or anyone that doesn't feel that energy. So it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Well, thank you for having me. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to revisit this part of my life, but it is interesting to some people, and I appreciate the opportunity. And you're right. You can't have the good without the bad. It's just the way the world works.
Well, Michele, kind of reiterate what Corbin said. This has been a great pleasure. As I mentioned when I tried hard to get you on here, I think this stuff is absolutely fascinating. I would be surprised if this is not our most watched episode yet, because this is just extremely interesting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the incredibly great stories. And I got to say, you are a gifted storyteller too. You make this look easy.
Some people, like my father, might have said I'm long-winded.
Well, I thought it was absolutely great. So thank you very much for your time. We are way past our 30-minute mark that we try to reach here. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one. But again, thank you so much, Michele, for your time once again. And we're going to go ahead and end this here. So as we always say, we will catch you guys on the flip. Kids, stay off drugs, and we will see you next week. Thank y'all.
Thank you for listening to The Jake Show. This episode has been brought to you by Jake Martinez of the Martinez Mortgage Team at Ameridream Mortgage Group. Don't hesitate to see what your home buying or refinancing options are today. Call or text Jake at 940-389-5443 to get started. NMLS number 2453141. Equal housing lender. Tune in next week for the brand new episode of The Jake Show.